Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday, which means it's time for a 5x5. Now, this is where I take 5 subjects related to magic. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject and then I move on to the next subject. It's always quick, it's always snappy. You never know what you're going to get. Now, today, I'm going to be talking about... what am I talking about today? I'm talking about sandwich tricks. I'm filming like a couple of these at the same time and my mind is all over the place. I'm going to be talking about sandwich tricks today. Now, I love sandwich routines. I absolutely adore them. I have for years. I think that some of the best tricks that you could ever learn are sandwich routines. And one of the reasons is I work a lot in the real world and lay people absolutely love sandwich routines. They really do. I always throw it in. I always throw at least 2 sandwich revelations into a multiple selection routine. I do various other sandwich routines as well. And it's just something that always goes down very well. And I realized that I have created many sandwich routines over the years, more than any person should create. And what I wanted to do on this video is basically highlight to you 5 of my favorite routines that involve sandwich cards. 5 sandwich routines that I've created that are my favorite sandwich routines of all time. I'm also going to give you the source as to where you can learn these from. So if you want to actually go and learn it, you can. Although, I'll be honest with you, most of them are on the Netrix. Now, there are some amazing sandwich routines. I'm probably going to do another video like this in the future with another 5 sandwich routines, but the ones that aren't created by me. Because things like Monkey in the Middle, things like Beyond Sleight of Hand by Darwin Ortiz, even the latest Nth Degree, the latest Junkers to Pharaoh book, which has an amazing sandwich routine in it. There's so many fantastic sandwich routines. So there is a video coming where there's going to be 5 sandwich routines created by other people, but this one is going to be all about the stuff that I've created. 5 sandwich routines that I think are super special, and I'm going to do performances of all 5 of them for you, talk about why they're so good and where you can learn them from. So without further ado, let's start off with cross. Red backed. Yep. You can also see that the cards are different. Yeah, and I'll give them a bit of a mix up. I'll give them a bit of a shuffle. I say shuffle because I can't say shuffle. But that's fine. And then I have up here 2 cards from the deck that I took out and I put crosses on them. These cards are very angry. Why? They're cross.
Oh, for God's sake.
This is the sort of stuff that I need to stop doing, isn't it? When people say Craig uses hack lines, it's moments like this that they refer to. This is evidence number 1. I need to stop. We're going to put those in my pocket for a minute, okay? And you're going to just touch a card. That one there, are you sure? I'm going to have you have a look at it. Can you remember the card?
I got it.
You got it?
Yep.
You're going to leave it down in the middle and we'll give the cards 1 shuffle just to make sure. Oh, look, I can now say shuffle. How amazing is that? It's a miracle. Praise the Lord. Right, okay, here we go. It's been a long day and we've filmed a lot of these things at this point. The crosses on the cards are going to find your card. Watch. I do all my own choreography. I hope you're impressed by this.
I can tell.
But they've done, look now, down in the middle of the deck. You're not going to believe this, but check it out. Look, in the middle of the deck now, there's the 2 cross cards right there. In between the 2 cross cards is 1 card, which would be the Ace of Clubs. Was that your card?
That was my card.
How amazing is that?
How'd they get there?
They jumped. It's very simple. I'll do it again. Look, I'm going to, I'll cut that ace. You're not meant to repeat a trick, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to cut that ace down into the middle. I'll even give it a, no, I'm not going to shuffle it. I'm just going to cut it into the middle. I'm going to do it again. Look, 1 cross card goes on the bottom, 1 cross card goes on the top. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Look, we're going to make these 2 cross cards disappear down into the deck to find your card. It happens like this. 1, 2, 3. Gone.
Where?
Well, the first one has actually gone there. It's gone partially down. And the other one has gone partially up there. And what they're doing is they're going through the deck to find your card. They're traveling into the position where the card is. And if I leave it a second, hopefully with any luck, there it is. Look there, right there. Now they've come together in the middle of the deck. And you're not going to believe this. They've landed on 1 card and 1 card only. And that would be your Ace of Clubs.
What?
I know. It's amazing, right?
It's bizarre.
I know. I don't understand how it works. It just happens, Jack. Okay, so cross. What you just saw there is cross, and it is a way of doing a slow motion sandwich routine. I have always loved the concept of two sandwich cards slowly coming together into the middle of the deck to find a selected card. And the first version that I ever learned was in Spectacle by Stephen Minch. And it's a really fantastic way of doing it. You start off with the cards, getting the sandwich, getting two kings, for example, sandwiching the selected card, and then they go down in slow motion. It's a beautiful routine, but it's very difficult. It uses a couple of kind of Steve Drawn style midnight shifts, and it's not the easiest routine to perform. And any routine I've ever seen that involves kind of a slow motion progression of the sandwich cards into the middle of the deck, it's always something that's very, very difficult to do. So cross was my attempt at doing that routine, but making it pretty much self-working. And that's what we have here. Now, if you want to learn this routine, you can learn it off the Mirage Deck project, which should give you a clue as to method behind this trick. It uses a Mirage Deck. Now, I love the Mirage Deck, and the Mirage Deck project came out recently with like 3 or 4 hours worth of material with the Mirage Deck. And the Mirage Deck is really more than just a forcing deck. Unfortunately, a lot of people use it as a forcing deck, but there is a lot more you can do with it. And cross is a perfect example. Cross allows you to have that slow motion kind of travel of the sandwich cards into the center of the deck. And you know, I've done this in so many different ways over the years. I've had it so that the sandwich cards start in my pocket. I've had it so that I take 2 cards out and I draw crosses on them. I've had it to the start in the wallet. There's so many different ways that I've actually gone with this routine. So many different ways that you can actually perform it. But I love the fact that it's kind of like a two-phase thing. First of all, the cross cards find the selected card, and then secondly, they do it again, but in slow motion. And those I love the fact that you're in control of it as well. So you put the cards on the top and on the bottom of the deck, and boom, you can use sleight of hand or not use sleight of hand, it's up to you, but boom, the crosses vanish. They go a little bit further down on each end, then a little bit further again, a little bit further again. You can decide how many times you do that before they find a selected card. I've even played with one card just traveling down and the other card traveling up, but not as far, so the cross cards are kind of like 2/3 down in the deck. The flexibility behind this routine is crazy, really. And I've actually used this in parlor shows for many, many years, and it always gets a great reaction. Because if you've never tried this kind of slow motion sandwich style routine, I encourage you to go out and try it. I encourage you to go and get yourself a deck. It doesn't have to be this routine. I love this routine. It's a very easy way of doing it, and I've learned most of the different ways of doing this routine. This is an easy way of doing it, and the gimmick deck does all the work for you, or most of the work for you. But whether you use this routine or something else, the problem with the sandwich routine is once the card has been found with the sandwich cards, it's kind of like, well, how do you progress? And there are ways to make it progress, and you're going to see that in tricks on this list a little bit later on. But this is fantastic because they've seen what happens. They see that the card has been captured by the 2 cross cards, and the fact that they've got crosses on them mean that there's absolutely no way that there can be duplicates, because they would see the crosses, right? Well, they would if it wasn't a Mirage deck. But, you know, it really has that wonderful follow-up to the original sandwich catch that you get at the very beginning. So there you go. That's cross. You can learn that for the Mirage Deck project, which is available from Alakazam and any places that Alakazam wholesale to. Remember, Alakazam now shipped from the US. Let me look over at my list here. The next routine I want to talk about, and you're going to see a performance of it right now, is Awesome Sandwich. Let's have a look at that.
I'm going to show it to Jack. How you doing, Jack?
You make me very hungry because you keep saying something.
Well, it's not that sort of sandwich, buddy. But this is a regular deck of cards, and I'm going to... Oh, there you go. Queens, perfect. I'm going to take the 2 black queens for this.
Good old queens.
Okay. Because generally, as a rule, the 2 black queens are actually the best cards in the deck to do what I'm about to do. We're going to pop the queens there. I'm going to get back to them in a minute. You're going to grab a card. So as I go down through the cards, anytime you want to, just say stop.
Stop.
Right there. Do you want one more card, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Have a look at that card. Remember it, don't forget it. You can show everyone, do not show me.
Yep.
And then pop the card back there. And we will leave it down in the middle. We'll give the cards a couple of cuts just to make sure it's lost. And we'll give it a shuffle as well. Now, there's a rule in Magic, there's two rules, actually. The first rule is never tell the audience the trick. The second rule is never repeat the trick. And the third rule is always have a big finish. Now, I can't ever deviate from the big finish. I have to do that.
Makes sense.
But I'm going to break the other two rules. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to repeat it.
Don't get kicked out of the moat.
Again. I'm going to try and use the queens to find your card. I've told you what I'm going to do. It looks like this. Watch. If I do this and this, watch the queens. If I do that, one card appears in between the queens. No. Now, what was the name of your card, Jack?
Ace of Hearts.
The Ace of Hearts. What you mean, this one right here, the Ace of Hearts. How cool's that?
That would be the one.
Now, I did say never repeat a trick. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pop the queens there. And I'm going to take your card. Now, I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to do it in slow motion. You see, it's very simple. All I have to do is take your card and make it invisible. See, it's invisible right now. That's what I do in slow motion. You just don't see me do it. And then when it's invisible, I just rub it right there in between the queens. And that's what I do. That's how it works, Jack. You see, now, right there, we have the Ace of Hearts. See, that's how it works.
What the hell?
But I did say to you, I always have to do the big finish, right?
Yeah.
Now watch, this is the big finish. Watch the deck. If I do this and shuffle the deck with one hand, that's called misdirection. Because in that second, as I was shuffling the deck with one hand, with the other hand, I took the other three aces out of the deck, and right there, in between the queens, there's three more cards, and those would be the other three aces.
So if I am out and about and I'm gigging and all I've got with me is a regular deck of cards and somebody asks to see a trick, this typically is probably the first trick that I'm going to do. I love doing this as an opening routine once I've made the deck appear or I've done something to make the deck appear. I love using this as an opening routine because it's very quick, it's very snappy, but it always ends up with a four-of-a-kind production as well. And you can do it very, very simply from a shuffled deck of cards because you just take the deck, you have the deck shuffled, you have the deck mixed up as much as you want to, you take the deck back. It is the easiest thing in the world to get into the setup that you need for this as you take out the two sandwich cards. So as you're taking out the two sandwich cards, you're setting up the deck in front of the audience. And at that point, I love the fact that it's very snappy, it's very direct, but I love that there's three phases. So, and there's a lot structurally that I really like about this routine. I love the fact that the cards are put down on the table from the very beginning. Now, this is a walk-around piece for me as well. And I talk about this on the net tricks. By the way, you can learn this from the net tricks. I talk about this on the net tricks, that you can take those two cards and instead of putting them down onto the table, you can give them to a spectator. A lot of the time at weddings, I'll put them into someone's top pocket of their jacket, right? So that I love the fact that the cards are put down from the very beginning. Those sandwich cards are shown and put down from the very beginning, because you normally don't get that, do you? Normally in a sandwich routine, the sandwich cards are taken out, you have someone pick a card, it's lost into the deck. You then have that moment where you bring the sandwich cards next to the deck, and at that moment, that's when the card is loaded into the middle, right? This eliminates that. So those cards are put down from the beginning, they pick a card, they can have it signed if they want to, and then boom, you show that the card is over there. And it's a lovely use of on-beat and off-beat, because the focus is there, they see the card face down, boom, and then on the offbeat you do the move and you show that the card's in between there. Gets an insane reaction, it really does. But then you repeat it, then you do it again. You know, you lose the card in the pack, and again, you don't bring that card anywhere near the deck. And yet, even though that card goes nowhere near the deck, boom, that card is in between there as well. Now, I used to end Awesome Sandwich at that point. So the two-phase routine used to be, it appears in between the cards, and it appears in between the cards again, and that's the end of the trick. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And it was only through performing this so many times that I realized that it kind of would benefit from a big finish. And even though this is kind of a simple idea, well, let's have the third phase have the other three cards of that value appear in between the sandwich cards. Even though that's kind of an obvious thing to think of, I never thought of it. It took me about 2 years to get to this point where you actually see the routine now in the performance. But that is the kicker finish, because you've made the card appear the second time, they turn it over, you put the cards back down to one side, and boom, you're ready for that finale where you show that the three cards are in between there. You can take the three cards out, and you're left with a 4 of a kind. Normally I will use the 4 aces. You're left with the 4 aces, and you can go into any other routine that you want to go into. So it's an examinable shuffle deck of cards in use. It's an instant reset. You're left with a regular deck of cards. There's not really any angle issues. Yes, you see me performing it on a table, but you don't need a table. And it's got that really nice 4 of a kind production, which is so good because once you've produced a 4 of a kind in the context of this sort of routine, you can go in so many different directions. You can have the 4 aces, and you can kind of take the 2 kings, and you can do a transpo routine between 2 kings and 4 aces. Or if you want to, you can kind of go into any other 4 of a kind routine that you want to go into. It's completely up to you. But it's cool. I really enjoy it. I really love performing this routine. So awesome sandwich. You can get it on the Nectrix. I've probably been doing this for about 7 or 8 years, something, maybe even a bit longer. And it's changed and evolved over time. And if there's one piece of advice that I can give creators is don't just rush to put something out to market. Don't just rush to publish something, because this has evolved over time and streamlined over time. At various different points, this has been like a six-phase routine, but it's streamlined down now into the routine that you just saw, and I absolutely love performing it. So that's awesome sandwich. Now we're going to go in a different direction. Yeah, checking my notes. This is a routine that I came up with probably about, it was definitely before the pandemic, maybe 2018, 2017. If there's one thing that I love more than sandwich routines, or as much as sandwich routines, it's a color changing deck. And what we have here is a color changing deck mixed with a sandwich routine. And when I realized that I could actually create a logical sequence that would allow me to do a sandwich routine whilst at the same time keeping the backs of the cards hidden, once I realized that that was a thing, this whole routine came together. And this makes a wonderful opener. Let's have a look at the routine right now.
Yep. Now, the interesting thing is you get to pick the 2 cards that I use to do this trick. Now, and it can be any 2 cards that you want to, but there is a stipulation. They have to be the same value and the same color. So, for example, there could be the 2 red 3s or the 2 black jacks. You get the idea. Yep. So what 2 cards would you like to do this trick with?
Let's start the 2 red 7s.
The 2 red 7s, are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. So we've got the 7 of hearts.
Yep.
And the 7 of diamonds, which I've made disappear. It's a miracle. There you go. Let's come back. One last question. Would you like to go through and take a different pair out, or you're okay with those 2 down there?
I'll keep the 7s.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Cool stuff. Right, so this trick will not work if you pick a 7 of hearts or a 7 of diamonds, because those are the 2 cards that we're going to be using to find your card. So what I'll do is I'll take the 2 7s and I'll leave them sticking off the side of the deck like this. And I'm going to bring the deck up like this so you can see it. I'm going to turn away, and you're going to pick one of the cards in the deck, all right?
Makes sense.
So as I go through, just say stop.
Stop.
Right there.
Yep.
Can you look at that card?
Yep.
You got it?
Got it.
Very important you remember it, because later on when I dramatically say this is your card, if you got I don't know, it loses its impact slightly. Now, could I possibly know anything about your card?
Nope.
I know it's not a 7, because obviously it's not a red 7 because we had those sticking out the side of the back, yeah?
Yep.
I'm going to use these 2 red 7s to find your card. Watch, if I just take the 2 red 7s and wave them over, one card invisibly leaps from the deck and leaps in between the 2 red 7s. And you're not going to believe this, but now there's one card face down there. And it's not just any card, but it's a Jack of Diamonds. Did you pick the Jack of Diamonds per chance?
I did, yeah.
How good's that? Is that pretty good?
That's very good.
Now, I'm going to go one step further. Would you like me to go one step further?
Oh, are we?
I can go one step further if you want me to go one step further.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go one step further. Watch. Leave those there. You see, if I take this, because that's sleight of hand. What I did there is sleight of hand. This is real magic. You see, you could have picked any card. You picked the Jack of Diamonds. If I put the Jack of Diamonds sticking out the deck, and I touch this part of the Rubik's Cube tattoo on my arm, which is red, and then I touch this card, do you know what happens?
No.
The back of this card turns red.
What?
See if we can go one step further. If I take this this Jack, yeah, and I touch it to the red part here and the red part here, and I touch it to the deck, what happens is that card turns red as well.
What?
If I then leave it on top of the deck, and I take the deck and I rub the deck against my tattoo, and I leave it a second, every single card in the deck turns red.
I don't understand.
Every single one of them, except for the 2 7s. Now, there is a flaw in this trick. Would you like to know what the flaw is?
Go on.
The flaw is it doesn't work with the 2 red 7s.
What was that?
Well, fairly obvious, really, isn't it? It just doesn't work because the 2 red 7s. Sorry, the two red 7s have got blue backs. You can't change them. But I tell you what, if I put this one here and snap my fingers, that one turns red. And if I take this one and I put this one here and I snap my fingers, has it happened? No, it's not happened yet. Let me try that again. Hang on. If I do this and snap, this one turns red. And now those two have turned red. The entire deck's turned red.
So like I say, this makes a fantastic opening routine. I've always thought that colour changing decks make a great opening routine anyway. But this especially so, because there are so many moments in this routine where they're seeing the backs of the cards. Because of the structure of the routine and because of how you're actually having cards picked and you're having cards selected and you're using the sandwich cards to find the selected cards, because of all of this stuff that's going on, you're seeing blue back cards all of the time. There is absolutely no suspicion from the audience's point of view that you're using a blue back deck. And sometimes with colour changing decks, it's kind of like, I don't want to say people suspect the deck to not be what it is, because they're never going to suspect that. If you say you've got a blue deck, you've got a blue deck, right? Why would they think that you're going to lie about that? But I do prefer it when you've got these built-in displays that are done logically. And by logically and naturally, I mean, the problem with a lot of colour changing decks is there's displays in there to show that the cards are all one colour, but the displays are done in a very kind of odd way. And they're not naturally motivated, if that makes sense. Because you're performing this sandwich routine, it makes all of the actions very, very motivated. So you have the sandwich routine itself, which is a very strong way of doing a sandwich routine. I remember speed camera cards, which is probably the very first sandwich routine I published, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. I came up with this concept of doing this kind of covered side steal in order to get into the routine. And that move used in the context of this routine really kind of hides everything that needs to be hidden. But I love the fact that you've done the sandwich routine and then slowly you start to change the backs of all of the cards. And when I first came up with this, I wasn't changing the backs of the sandwich cards. So the sandwich cards were staying the same colour, and I was just putting them away. And then over time, as the routine evolved, I worked out a way of actually having those cards change as well. And it's nice because at the end of the routine, they see all of the cards have changed except for the sandwich cards. And then those cards change as well in the hands of the spectators. This is designed to be a walk around piece. Predominantly, this is a walk around piece. So the cards then change in the hands of the spectators and everything's changed. You're left with one gaffed card. 2 gaffed cards in the deck, which is in a perfect position to ditch however you want to, or you can take out the jokers and you can be left with a regular deck of cards. And the reset is literally seconds. Within about 2 seconds, you're going to be able to reset the deck ready to be used again for anything that you want to use it for in the future. So it's a very strong routine. It's a wonderful use of a couple of simple gaffed cards to be able to achieve what you saw in the performance. And, you know, if there's something you can learn from this, or at least I've learned from this process, it's sometimes when you're creating magic, just think of 2 plots and see if you can merge them together. Even if those 2 plots don't necessarily go hand in hand, and you wouldn't normally consider doing this with this, think about what would happen if you did. Right, I've got a sandwich routine, I've got a colour changing deck. If I put these 2 things together, what would that look like, right? Now, earlier on, I talked about speed camera cards. Speed camera cards was the very first trick I ever published with sandwich routines. It was published on Locked in a Room. Oh, by the way, the colour changing deck is on the Netrix as well, by the way. So the colour changing sandwich deck trick is on the Netrix. But speed camera cards was the very first sandwich trick I created. And it was originally published on Locked in a Room Without Coins. And it was my first card DVD. and it was full of card material, and Speed Camera Cards was on there, and then that got renamed and got called a different routine. It was streamlined, the handling was streamlined, and then it was republished on Slim, which was another DVD I put out through World Magic Shop. It's now on the Netric. So if you want to learn how to do this, you can do so. It's actually on the Netric, so you can go and access that and watch it immediately. Absolutely not a problem. But I'm going to show you a performance of it first of all, and then we'll talk about why I like this so much.
So I'm going to perform it to you, Jack, and it uses a pack of 52 playing cards. As you can see, all the cards are here. More importantly, they're all different. And to do this, I actually need 2 black kings. So the first black king, all I have to do is I can reach into the deck and take it out invisibly. It's right there, it's invisible. Throw it on top of the deck. It's right there, face up, invisible. Now, I know you don't believe me, but if I give it a shake, now it becomes visible, right? Hey. And the second one's right there, just in case you're wondering. So then we've got 2 black kings. Now we can begin the trick. This is the trick. You're going to grab one of these cards. Now, you can pick any card, but do not pick a black king. So I'll leave the black kings face up there, sticking out the side of the deck. Just say stop anytime you want. Stop. Can you remember that card?
Yep.
I'll show it to the camera. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I know nothing about your card, other than the fact that I know it's not a king, because we left the king's face up on top. Other than that, I know nothing about your card. But to find your card, all I have to do is this. And one card appears right there in between the kings, and that would be the 9 of hearts. Was that your card? How did I do?
Spot on.
Perfect. Now, maybe, just maybe, you're thinking this was a fluke, and maybe somehow I was lucky with it, which I wasn't. So to prove it to you, I'll break the unwritten rule of magic, and I'll do it again. I'll show you the trick again. Your card is going to go right here in between the kings. It's when I do this, you see that card appear right there in between the kings. Now, I could keep doing this over and over and over again, obviously, but I'm going to do it one more time. We've got a king, we've got your 9, and we've got a king, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the 9 out, and I want you to watch the 9, watch the kings, watch absolutely everything. Now, the 9 goes about halfway down. You can see the 2 kings here. You can see the gap in between them. When I go up, your card just melts all the way up through to in between the kings. It's crazy, right?
Oh.
Told you it was mad. Now, the thing with this is I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So I think what I need right now is a big finish. What do you reckon? Shall I try and go for a big finish?
A big finish would be good.
Okay, let me put the kings over there, so you know exactly where they are from the very, very beginning. Now, you take your 9, and what I want you to do is just shove it anywhere into the pack that you want. Right there, you sure?
Yep.
Michael, just so you can see, that really is the 9 going right there into the middle. You can push it in yourself. Perfect. Now watch. All I have to do is this. I know, it's crazy, right? Because now there's one card. If that card was your card, would that be a good trick?
That would be good.
That'd be great, but I went one step further. You know why? Because now every single card is in between the kings. And there's one card over here where the cards were. And that would be your 9.
Nice.
Crazy, right? How good.
So anyone that knows me knows that I love multi-phase routines. You know, if you've seen me perform card in the box, card in pocket, ambitious card, I love multi-phase routines as long as each phase logically builds. One of the reasons I think card in the box is so good is because you set the premise, the card goes under the box, and then it happens again and again and again, and it becomes more fooling each time because the spectator is aware that's what's going to happen, and yet they never see it coming. It's a little bit like that with this. It's exactly the same with the ambitious card. The ambitious card is probably the most popular card trick of all time because it just always hits home with lay people, because once they know that the premise is the card's coming to the top of the deck, every single time it comes to the top of the deck, it becomes more and more impressive, especially with the signed card. That's the kind of the route that we're going down with this. Now, the reason it was originally called speed camera cards is because I used 2 double blank cards and a regular deck. And the double blank cards were used as the sandwich cards. And the whole presentation was based around speed cameras and how speed cameras work, and they picked a card and they put their reg number of their car on the card, and that represents their car, and the whole idea was the speed cameras were supposed to catch an impression of their car as it drove past. So it was kind of a wacky presentation that worked at that point in my career. It's not something that I would kind of do now, but it worked very, very well for a very long time, especially in restaurants. I now present it kind of more as you saw it in the video. And I don't use the 2 blank cards. I just use 2 sandwich cards on the deck. But it's the whole idea of this thing happening again and again and again. So it catches the card in between there. It catches the card again. It catches the card again. It's like a 5-phase routine. And I made a conscious effort to make sure that each phase built. So the first phase built to the second phase. Each phase became more impressive after the previous phase. Now, the final phase is actually John Bannon's Fat City, which he published in Smoke and Mirrors, that no one ever seems to have heard about. So Fat City was literally just a 1-phase thing where the deck went in between the sandwich cards. I read that, and as somebody who loves sandwich routines anyway, I read that and I fell in love with it immediately. I realised that that would be such a phenomenal ending to a sandwich routine. And I'd already been playing around with the context of this sandwich routine, and I had some of the phases in place already. And when I had that final Fat City moment, which was probably about 25 years ago now, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. That finishes this whole routine off. And honestly, it's probably my favourite sandwich routine. It's definitely the one I've been doing the longest. And I love the fact that each phase builds, each phase becomes more and more interesting, and there's a distinct ending. It's a little bit like doing Ambitious Card and having the card go in the wallet at the end, or doing, wrapping the deck up in a rope and having it still come to the top of the deck, or, On the Up by Cash and Wallace, something like that, having that big finale. Having the Fat City at the end of this routine really gives this finale feel to this particular trick. So there you go. You can learn that from the Netrix as well. That's on the Netrix. Now I'm going to go through one other. It was very hard to kind of come up with what the final routine would be in this 5x5. For a while I was going with stuff with 8 balls, then I was going stuff with 4 aces, but I eventually settled on the newest thing to go on the Netrix, which is called Repeat Sandwich. And although it's the newest thing to go on the Netrix, it's only been up there for about a month. It's one that I've been performing for a very, very long time. I say a very long time. I probably started maybe doing this over COVID, but I remember doing this in virtual shows. So maybe 2020, something like that. Maybe 4 years, maybe a bit longer. I don't know. But let's have a look at it. This is called Repeat Sandwich. Okay, so Jack, I'm going to show you something with a deck of cards. Now, a lot of people, do you know why jokers are put into a deck of cards?
I don't actually.
They're there specifically for magicians. The guy that created playing cards was actually a magician. Yeah. And he included the jokers in there because a lot of people don't realise this. The jokers actually have real magical powers. They can do 2 things. They can actually find playing cards. So if you're not a very good magician like me, you can actually use the jokers to find cards instead. And the other thing that the jokers will do is they'll duplicate playing cards. Let me show you what I mean. So do me a favour, just grab a card. There you go, have a look at it, remember, don't forget it.
Yep.
And then when you've got it, put it back. Good stuff, we'll leave it down in the middle. We'll give the cards a few cuts, like that, and a shuffle. Excellent stuff. Now, normally, this is where most magicians would have to use sleight of hand or go through the deck and find the card, right? Not me. I can actually use these 2 jokers. They can find any card in the pack. Let me show you how that looks. We don't need the deck. All I have to do is give a twist to the jokers, wait a second, and it's done, because now there's 1 card inside the 2 jokers, and the 1 card that's there is the Ace of Diamonds. How did I do?
Where'd that come from?
Well, it came from in between the jokers, like I said. Now, here's the thing. This is you can go 1 step further than this, because the jokers don't just find cards, they can duplicate those cards. So if I take the 2 jokers and I touch them to your Ace of Diamonds and I wait a second, now there's another card in between there, and it's another Ace of Diamonds. Now, you can't have 2 Ace of Diamonds in 1 deck, obviously, and there's not. I'm just making duplicates of your card, and I can do it as many times as I want to. Watch. You just wave the jokers over, you wait a second, and when you do, there it is. That's another one. That's another Ace of Diamonds. I can do it as many times as I want to, in all honesty. I could end up with a deck full of these if I wanted. It's crazy the way it works. Let's try and do it one more time. Look, you see the 2 jokers there, yeah?
Yep.
Watch, if I just tap, take, Look, there you go. There's another one right there. I can keep doing this. Now, obviously, if I did it forever and ever and ever and have a ton of these cards, as it happens, I've got 4. Now, the issue with this is if I showed somebody a card trick and they realized that I had 4 ace of diamonds in my deck, that would be problematic at best, right? It'd be like, hang on a minute, you're obviously cheating. You've got more than 1 ace here, right? So what I would do in this situation is I would take the cards and I would just do this. And that's all I'd have to do. Because now I can take those ace of diamonds and I can turn them into the 1, 2, 3, 4 aces, which means that now I can go and do any trick that I want to.
So that is repeat sandwich, and I love this routine. It's a little bit like the awesome sandwich that I talked about earlier, in that you've got a 4-of-a-kind production. I do love routines where there's a 4-of-a-kind production at the end, because it means that I can very easily transition into another piece logically without having to kind of wonder where I'm going to go to next. I also love the fact that it's multi-phase again, you know, and they pick a card and you find the card, then you find it again, you find it again. It's got that kind of wild card element to it, and it becomes more and more ridiculous as you're performing the routine, because from a layperson's point of view, they know there's only one card of each you know, of each card in the deck. So when you produce the card, it becomes very impressive. You put it down to one side, but then you produce it again. 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 And it's kind of almost got like a card manipulator style feel to it, and that you keep producing this card again and again. But by producing it again and again, you're setting yourself up for the finale, where you end up taking that card and turning it into, you know, a 4-of-a-kind. And that's what's really so strong about this. Now, for anybody that knows the method behind this, or anybody that's maybe a Netrix member, because by the way, this is also available on the Netrix, yeah, I don't think that this is a difficult routine to do. It's not. I do this, as I say, walk around an awful lot. I'm putting the cards into the spectator's hands. I just need to make sure that my audience management is on point, which it is. It's not a problem. But don't think this is hard. It's not. The important thing is that there's one moment where the packet, where the 2 sandwich cards are more thick than they should be. And as long as you angle those cards down so the spectators are looking at the back of the cards and not the edge of the cards, that's absolutely not a problem. I've performed this in pretty much every environment you can imagine, and it's so strong when you have that 4-of-a-kind finale. I love that there's moments all the way through, you know, as you produce each card, it becomes more and more impressive, and then you do the count and you show that they're all the same card. That's an impossible object for lay people, because they know, like I said before, there's not meant to be 4 ace of clubs in one deck. So when you start to show that all of the cards are the same, it's kind of like, what? It's almost like that everywhere, nowhere style effect, you know, that you see performed from years ago. Everywhere and Nowhere is a fantastic plot. I remember the first time I learned from John Carney, Everywhere and Nowhere and On Your Face. I remember at that point thinking, this is an amazing card plot. Well, it's a very similar thing to that, but with a sandwich routine. But then you've got the 4-of-a-kind production built into it as well. So there's a lot to love about this, and it's a very commercial trick. So there you go. That's your 5th one. That is repeat sandwich. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. Now, do me a favour. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you learned any of these sandwich routines? Do you like them? Which ones are your favourites? Are you a Netrix member? Have you tried any of these out? Have you got the Mirage Deck Project? I want to know what you think of Cross. Let me know. Would you like to see another video? I've created probably about another 25 sandwich routines. Would you like a follow-up video like this? If you would, let me know in the comments down below. Would you like to see the video where I'm talking about other people's sandwich tricks? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget, like this video, share the video, do all of that fun stuff you're meant to do. And if you want to join the Netrix, which is my online streaming platform for magicians, you can do so by going to www.thenetrix.com. That's www.thenetrix.com. Go check it out, see what all the fuss is about. I will be back again soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Have a great Monday. My name's Craig from Magic TV.